first draft of Tears of the Wolf, my Viking-inspired fantasy romance, there were giant magical wolves that bonded with people. The original blurb for the book even mentions this. However, as I worked on later drafts, I remembered something my dog trainer once said. I used to train and show dogs competitively, but that's a separate tangent. I decided to look more into it, and that led me to the website of the St. Francis Wolf Sanctuary. I started looking into their educational resources on wolves, wolf hybrids, and why the need for their sanctuary exists at all. This led me down a rabbit hole that made me quite upset. But after reading all that, I rewrote the entire book. I decided I could not ethically depict wolves, even magical wolves, cohabitating with humans. Our human ancestors spent about 27,000 years domesticating wolves into dogs. Wolves and dogs are now a separate species to the point that they won't even breed without human intervention. Wolves' bodies are very different, and because of this, they require a lot of really specialized veterinary care. Wolves are meant to be wild predators that avoid humans. Their main survival instinct is fear, and they can be extremely dangerous to people and themselves when they are backed into a corner. Properly caring for wolves in captivity is a specialist field that should be left to licensed professionals and accredited facilities. The less that non-accredited, non-licensed people like you and me deal with wolves, the better for everyone. This is the part where someone usually chimes in and is like, but my cousin's aunt's grandpa had a wolf hybrid that was great with kids and loved small animals. No, they didn't. Most wolves or wolf dogs that are bought and sold have no actual wolf DNA. They're actually some variety of husky or husky mix. The St. Francis Wolf Sanctuary gets about 600 calls a year from people who think they have a wolf or a wolf dog, but only about 1 in 10 of those animals turns out to have actual wolf DNA. But like a really good general rule is that if it makes a good pet, it's not a wolf. That's why sanctuaries like St. Francis are so important. The residents at St. Francis cannot be kept as pets, but for various reasons also can't be released back into the wild. In the United States where I live, if a wolf or wolf dog ever comes in contact with animal control, it will be euthanized. Many of the St. Francis residents have stories like this, where there was an emergency call made to the sanctuary because animal control didn't want to take it because if they did, they were going to have to euthanize it. Another thing is that the rabies vaccine in the United States is not approved for wolves by the Federal Drug Administration. The rabies vaccine works on wolves, but it's not FDA approved, which is all that the law cares about. This means that if an animal identified as a wolf or a wolf dog ever bites someone, it will be legally required to be euthanized in order to have a brain sample taken to test for rabies. The whole thing is just very messy and very bad and really just best avoided. Husband and I visited the St. Francis Wolf Sanctuary last week and we took a VIP tour. We got to help with a few enrichment activities and even feed the wolves under professional supervision. I got to get a lot of clarifying information and ask a lot more questions about this topic. Visiting the sanctuary really confirmed for me that I made the right choice by writing the wolf storyline out of this book. The sanctuary is kind of like a retirement home for animals that, like I mentioned, can't be released back into the wild. They're primarily older animals, and unfortunately, all of them have some history of abuse by humans. I used to be a foster mom for a local animal rescue, and my past life working in a vet clinic has really just given me a really low tolerance for animal abuse in general. After the success of A Game of Thrones, another fantasy series with magical wolves, we saw an uptick in the demand for wolves and wolf hybrids in the illegal pet trade. I should probably mention here that wolves are still an endangered species here in the US, and yes, it is illegal for private individuals to own them in most US states. And I decided that I could not encourage that trade, however incidentally. So I rewrote the entire manuscript of Tears of the Wolf to have direhunds instead, which is another name for the Norwegian elkhound. The Norwegian elkhound is a 7,000-year-old domestic dog breed that was around during the Viking Age. Elkies are intelligent, friendly, freaking adorable. Most importantly, they are domestic dogs that are meant to cohabitate with humans. To thank the St. Francis Wolf Sanctuary for helping me with research and for all they do for these animals, we are giving 10% of all revenue from Book Goblin Books this month toward the sanctuary. That's 10% of whatever money we make in the month of February. So that's book sales, merch, YouTube ad revenue, like all of it. Tears of the Wolf will be launching to the general public on my store February 21st. But you can get access 7 days earlier on Valentine's Day by becoming an early bird VIP. For Bokala and the wolves.